Ahoy hoy, I'm Planetwalk, and there is someone that I haven't covered in a while, and that is, of course,
Chris, from New York, Westchester County.
Yes, CC, everyone's favourite flat earther who films from their car for some mysterious reason. Anyway, the reason why I haven't covered him in a while is because all of his videos have Flat Earth in the title, even if the video isn't about Flat Earth. Like, he could make a video talking about how he's lost his socks, and the title would be something like, "The washing machine ate my socks on our flat earth." Anyway, the reason why this stops me from responding to him is because I'll look at one of his titles and go, if that is about flat earth, that's going to be interesting. And then it's just not. Which means that if I want to respond to CC, I then have to go through yet another video of his to work out if it's something worth responding to. Fortunately, his most recent video is called Explain on Our Flat Earth, which should definitely give me the opportunity to maybe explain something to CC.
I don't know how to dance.
Oh, I'm not sure I'm the best person to explain that to you, because last time I danced was in a video called They Do Not Want You to See This, and a lot of people said that they should have listened to they. But you know, if you want to learn how to dance, go ahead, maybe attend a dance class, and that could help you.
I don't know how to dance around this, but, that psycho, you know, I don't even want to get into it, you know, I really don't.
I don't know who or what you're on about, but me neither, so I am going to skip ahead to when you actually say something that I find interesting.
Oh, somebody called me. Okay. Yeah, this was before, I think, smartphones, if I'm correct. What, smartphones are about 15? Maybe we did have smartphones back then. It's about 13 years ago. Yeah, I think smartphones have been on the market now for about 15 years. And you know what? They haven't changed one little bit. Your smartphone from 15 years ago looks exactly like the same one that you have now. It might be slimmer, you know. It looks exactly the same way. Wow, how technology is just surpassed.
Does CC think that the only way that technology advances is by looking different? You see, back 9 years ago when I finally actually got a smartphone, one of the issues that it had was trying to play video. You see, I'd go onto YouTube and there would be a decent chance that my phone would just stop playing the video halfway through. It wasn't the internet's fault, it was the fact that my phone wasn't that great. Nowadays my phone is far better and I can watch YouTube without any issues because it has the processing power to do so. Now sure, the phone that I had 9 years ago didn't really cost all that much because I wasn't willing to fork over $1,000 for a phone. These days I'm still not willing to do that. But the high-end phones are still getting better, whether that be more memory, more processing power, or even more pixels, whether that be on the screen or the camera. Not to mention that they also seem to have more cameras as well. There's a joke that in 10 years, you're just gonna have this completely covered with cameras.
You know, we go from these flip-up phones that were shit, you know, and then all of a sudden we get these smartphones. Where did this fucking technology come from?
It was developed over time, like any other technology, like the light bulb, for example. That didn't just pop up out of nowhere. A person had to invent it. In fact, if you're talking specifically about touch screens, that technology has been around for ages. Since 1965. It's just only recently have we managed to put it in a phone.
You know, and why hasn't it moved on? Where's my flippy flop phone that I could just wrap around the Predator thing? Remember the Predator? You know, he had that cool thing on his arm, he's just going like that. Where's my phone? You know, they can't get that oiled screen right. They tried it. I saw it, but they couldn't get it right. You fold it up and down a couple times, probably 1,000 times, and then boom, the screen goes out.
Yes, as it turns out, screens aren't generally a big fan of bending, although companies are trying to work on that. Also, if you want a phone on your wrist, get one of those smartwatches. They do exist, although you may not have one for the exact same reasons that I don't have one. I don't need one. I find that my money is better spent on things like the new camera that I've got, for example, which was a lot of money. But I think it was worth it to go through the pain of trying to work out how that thing works. But also, when it comes to wearable technology, sure, it looks cool in movies, but in real life, would you actually use it? Probably not. Like, why would I hold up my wrist and my hand to type out something when I can just hold up my phone in one hand and type it out? That's a lot easier. My point is, just because a movie makes something look cool, it doesn't mean that thing needs to actually exist, and sometimes it's going to be less convenient than what we already have.
I don't know what the deal is with this technology, if we're getting it from somewhere else. I don't know. I don't know where Apple came up. came up with this, because they came up with the smartphone first.
Well, new technology is what happens when you build on previous technology. That is how it's always been. Okay, for this next part of the video, I do have to provide a little bit of context. Otherwise, it's going to be very confusing. Anyway, in this next part, he talks about how he thinks that a mutual friend of his might be finding out about Flat Earth. At least, that's what it seems like. Now, he doesn't actually say whether this was about Flat Earth or not. He just said that someone told him that this person was acting weird.
So anyway, what she was explaining to me, all of a sudden it dawned on me, she's going through the 5 steps. Holy shit. Welcome to the party, man! Die Hard, by the way. So the way she was describing this, I was like, these are the 5 steps. You know, that she's already at the second one right now, which is anger. And that's the reason why, because she's a very soft-spoken person, you know? I was surprised to hear that, you know, what she was doing. But you know, the 5 steps are basically, when you look it up, it's a death in the family, and then that's what you're going through. I've explained this to you before. You know, you get that first one of denial. You know, no, we live on a spinning wet ball, right? No, it can't be. What are you talking about?
Now, I don't necessarily think that the 5 stages of grief are applicable in every scenario. Much less so when it comes to having your beliefs challenged. The process of having your beliefs challenged and changing your mind seems to be a very different process than that of suffering something like loss. The first thing when it comes to changing what you believe about the world is a willingness to believe a different position to what you currently believe. Now, generally, this is a good thing. If people get new evidence, they should be okay with changing their minds. However, in the case of Flat Earth, I don't think that it's so much a willingness, but a desire to change what they believe. The difference, of course, is that if you're willing to change what you believe, then you're more likely to challenge new information that you get before accepting it. However, if you have a desire to change what you believe, then you're probably going to accept contradictory information to what you currently believe uncritically. You can see this happen a lot. I've seen it happen with anti-vaxxers, for example. You go back 5 years and everybody was making fun of people that said that vaccines cause autism. You get to the pandemic in 2020 and people are saying, we shouldn't lock down, we shouldn't wear a mask, eventually a vaccine will come along and everything will be fine. The vaccine comes along and those same people are unwilling to get the vaccine because it was made too fast, or something along those lines. However, they assure me that it's just the COVID vaccine that they have a problem with, no other vaccines. Fast forward to now, and now they're saying that vaccines cause autism. The evidence hasn't changed in 5 years, but the desire to believe in conspiracy theories has. Now, flat earthers are a prime example of this, because they'll start with other conspiracy theories. And from that, they'll go, well, what's another way which everyone else can be wrong and I can be right? Anyway, I can speak for ages on that, but I'm getting a bit too sidetracked, I think.
I mean, you don't live on a flat disc or something out in space, right? No, can't be. Then you get that anger, you know, and many people have different ways of expressing that. They might be banging walls, throwing chairs, or yelling and screaming at people, or a combination of all of these. You know, 3 bonuses in 1.
Chris, did you start throwing chairs around when you found out about Flat Earth? If that's what you're doing, then you don't need conspiracies, you don't need Flat Earth. You need help. Like therapy. Is that why you believe in the Flat Earth? Because you don't want to go to therapy?
Then you have bargaining. Bargaining is a funny stage, because you're like, you know, you're still trying to fight it. You know what I'm saying? You're kind of like, no. I mean, look, we're spinning. I mean, we were told about all this stuff. You know, we know that we're on a spinning wet ball. You know.
That really doesn't seem like bargaining to me. If you were right and the Earth were flat, that would be more akin to denial than any kind of bargaining. This is why trying to apply something like the 5 stages of grief to changing your belief system doesn't really work all that well.
The hardest one is depression, okay? You're gonna get depressed. In my way, I was depressed. The depression stage is going to hit, okay? It sucks. For me, it was more in my stomach, knots in my stomach. You know, thinking about all the times that I told everybody about UFOs, that I told everybody about aliens, that I told everybody about the solar eclipse and how cool it is, okay? That I told everybody we live on a spinning wet ball, when I had no fucking idea what I was talking about.
You know, if anything, it kind of sounds like you're in the anger stage, because that sounded angry to me. Anyway, knots in your stomach is perfectly normal once you realize that you've been wrong about something. I get that if I realize that, wait, I was wrong about that. It more so comes from embarrassment than anything, because if you think that you've told people wrong information, that can be embarrassing. And the funny thing is, I've heard of ex-flat earthers that are embarrassed that they used to be a flat earther, but now they've moved on with their life.
I had no idea how fast the Earth moved. I had no idea even the diameter of Earth. I had no idea how the planets out there even worked. I had no idea what I was living on.
You know, it kind of sounds like you also have no idea, or at least are missing bits of information that would not make you a flat earther. Like, let's take for example one of the few values that I have memorized, and that is the radius of Earth at 6,371 kilometers. I hope that I haven't gotten that one wrong. Does me knowing that value in any way make me think maybe the globe isn't real? No, it doesn't. If I ever need to calculate something, it's a useful value to know, but it doesn't really make me think, that's too big for a globe, or anything like that. On the other hand, flat earthers will say, why doesn't all the water fly off the Earth? Well, if you did the calculations, you'd realize that there's more gravity than centrifugal force, so therefore the gravity holds the water to the Earth. It is very interesting that you don't get anybody with a physics degree that comes along and says that the Earth is flat, because they know more than the flat earthers.
And that was my depression stage, until I had to go back to school and learn all of this myself again, and then piece it together and say, this is fact. You don't live on a spinning wet ball.
What do you mean by school, CC? Do you mean like YouTube videos? Is that what you're talking about? Personally, when I found out about Flat Earth, I happened to be in school. Tertiary education though, so I was able to ask an independent astrophotographer about what they thought of the Earth being flat. Needless to say, they showed me a whole lot of photos that they themselves had taken, like of the various planets such as Saturn, Jupiter, of the southern star trails, of a sombrero galaxy, just various things that shouldn't exist if the Earth were flat. Now, I didn't actually need to talk to this person to find out that the Earth wasn't flat. I'm a little bit smarter than that, but it's just something that you can learn by going to school.
There is no space.
Independent astrophotographers would disagree with you there, CC.
Okay, that was my depression, and I got pissed too. So maybe you can tie depression into, anger in a way. It's a combination. And put this combination any way, but I think this is like the correct way.
It sounds like you're still angry with how heated you were getting before, so maybe it's not necessarily a thing to do with grief?
Acceptance. And that's it. You finally accept it. And then you understand that everything is fake. Every single thing that you've learned. History. The mountains. Everything is fake.
Wait, the mountains are fake? How do you arrive at that conclusion? Like, what thought process leads you from the Earth is flat? Oh, is it because mountains, are big things that aren't flat, and so to make the Earth flat, you just gotta say, okay, mountains don't really exist. Hills don't even exist. Oh, what am I listening to? Initially, I was thinking of titling this video something to do with Flat Earth grief, because that seemed to be mostly what it was about. But then he's talking about fake mountains? Like, that's even worse than the how do rockets steer without a steering wheel claim from a while back.
The sun, fake. Moon, fake. Wandering stars, if you want to call them planets, fake.
Of course, everything is fake. In the spirit of things, why don't we also propose that, I don't know, CC is fake. He's just an experiment that got out of hand of artificial... Yeah, that works.
But I think I'm just going to get into the second half of the video and have you think about a few things. Just a couple of things, you know? Obvious things.
Okay, then fire away. What are these obvious things? Is it fake mountains or something else?
Picture the spinning wet ball, spinning for billions and billions and billions of years, with all the continents on it. Yeah, you see all the continents on it? I know, but there's something that isn't right. All the continents should be at the bulge of Earth. Yeah, that's right. That's where they should be, the equator.
No, because that's not quite how physics works. It is true that at the equator, Earth is wider, which means that the Earth has kind of been squashed a little bit. Now, water adheres to gravity, and if that was the only force that water adhered to, then you might have a point. However, water also adheres to centrifugal force. This means that there's also a force acting on water that also pushes it towards the equator, hence why continents are just all over the place.
Explain to me how gravity works on the spinning wet ball. Okay, please. Because gravity is very selective of what it likes to hold down and let up. It does. It's weird. For some reason or another, it holds in trillions and trillions and trillions and quadrillions of gallons of water. But little butterflies and dragonflies and insects, they don't seem to be having any problem at all.
Okay, let me introduce you to the concept of multiple forces. If you are standing on the Earth, you obviously have forces such as gravity acting upon you, keeping you on the Earth, but you also have forces such as the electromagnetic force, which stops you from kind of just sinking in the Earth into an amorphous blob. Gravity does hold things to Earth, but things like birds, for example, they apply a force in the opposite direction to keep them flying. This would be like saying, oh well, density is strong enough to hold things to Earth, but I can throw a rock, so therefore it's not that much of a force.
How does it work with air? And our air isn't just being shot out into space. Because when you take a vacuum, you take the air out of the second floor of a room. And you poke a hole in the ceiling from the first room. It's an automatic rush, split second, okay?
The answer, of course, is that vacuums don't suck. What actually causes air to rush into a vacuum is really just pressure. If you've got two rooms and the top room's a vacuum, bottom room has air in it, and there is pressure at the top of the bottom room, then yes, making a hole between the top room and the bottom room is going to cause the air to rush into the top room because it's being forced in there.
You know, these are obvious things that should have answers to, but don't. And the scientists can't explain them.
Okay, CC, tell me that you've never talked to a scientist without telling me that you've never talked to a scientist. Because here's the thing, scientists do have answers to those kinds of things.
Is it a truth that we live on a spinning wet ball, or there's no proof, there's no pictures, there's no evidence?
There is certainly a lot of evidence, it's just that flat earthers don't want to listen to the evidence. A lot of the evidence that I present, flat earthers never deal with it. If I show an image of boats disappearing bottom first over the horizon, then flat earthers will either say, well, zoom in and you can bring it back, or they'll say, perspective, despite the fact that they cannot tell me what the formula for perspective is that makes things disappear bottom first over the horizon. They cannot provide anything testable.
When there's evidence that we live on a level, flat ground here, covered with something, a dome, perhaps, we have evidence of that because we have no curvature.
But you've got no evidence of a dome. You have no pictures of the flat earth. You have nothing. All you have is conjecture that upon further investigation requires you to come up with ad hoc explanations that don't even fully explain it.
There is no Coriolis effect. I think they just broke a new world record with that. 4 miles, 4.2 miles, something like that. None of the sharpshooters take an effect of any curvature at all whatsoever. The only thing they're concerned about is the wind.
Because wind is going to have a far greater effect than Coriolis. Coriolis is a very small force. But here's the thing, when shooting east or west, they actually do take into account Coriolis. Although technically I suppose it would be the Utvush effect in this case. If you're shooting long distances and don't take into account the Utvush effect, then when shooting east, you're going to hit higher than you expect, and when shooting west, you're going to hit lower than what you expect.
The Navy, with their missiles, they don't take an effect of the curvature in the ocean. None. None at all whatsoever.
Wait, are we talking about the Navy firing missiles at something that they cannot see, so therefore would have to actually take into account the curvature of the Earth? Or are we talking about them firing missiles at something that they can see, so therefore they wouldn't have to take into account the curvature of the Earth?
No professor, no scientists, nobody has debated us at all. The only debates that we get are bullshit. Nonsense.
Says the person who has admitted to not reading his comments. But that aside, here's an offer for you, Chris. I will be willing to debate you as long as a moderator is present. Now, people have told me that I'm not the greatest debater because apparently I'm too nice to people, so you don't have to worry about me trying to turn this into some kind of shouting match. So what do you say, Chris? Are you up for the challenge, or do you want to just complain some more about how no one will debate you despite the fact that you won't debate anyone? Let me know.
They haven't put one experiment of their own on any of their channels, and they're gonna come and debate us?
Okay, I'm gonna take that as a no, but here's the thing, Chris. I have done experiments before. It's just that I need to actually be able to afford to do the experiment in order to do it. It's generally cheaper and far more time efficient to go, oh, well, this person here has done an experiment. Now, CC, what is wrong with this experiment? But here's a question for you, CC. What experiments have you done? But anyway, I think that's a good place to end the video. Now, I don't expect to see any kind of response from CC, but CC, if you are watching, do consider my offer. Could be fun. But as for everyone else, leave a like and subscribe if you like the video, and it turns out that we're ending this just in time. Great. As always, a big shout out to my $20 or more patrons. Hugh Jarsz, M.C.Nutkin, Nathaniel Muller, Vermont1777, Tony C, Wolfie, Morrie, Graymore Ghost, KidVicious, Sacha Campbell, definitely not NASA, Craig D'Amelio, Richard M Chapman, and Sain't. If you want to support me financially, you can do so on Patreon. There should be a link over there. But anyway, I will see you in the next video. Between you and me, thank you for watching. Nowadays, my phone is Ow!